All right, ready to dive into the world of Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger?
Always ready for that.
Perfect. We're going deep on their insights, mental models, those pitfalls we want to avoid, and principles for reaching that long-term success, right?
Sounds like a plan.
Our guides on this journey, being Warren Buffett, life lessons from a cheerful billionaire, and poor Charlie's Almanack.
Two classics.
Think of it like a crash course and thinking like two of the greatest investors ever, right? What really jumps out from these books is that emphasis on independent thinking, especially in the world of investing.
Yeah, it's so easy to get caught up in what everyone else is doing.
Right, it's like that herd mentality takes over. The Buffett biography really digs into how other people's opinions, even unconsciously, can sway our decisions.
Right.
Ever feel that pressure, like to follow the crowd, even when your gut's saying, maybe not?
All the time. It's
Yeah.
tough to go against the grain. And that's where things get tricky, especially with investing.
Absolutely.
Buffett actually, he connects this to a concept called idle talk.
Idle talk.
Yeah, it's basically accepting common beliefs without really questioning them. Like, think about that saying, the property market always goes up.
Oh, yeah, you hear that one all the time.
Right. You hear it so often, it starts to feel like a fact.
Becomes almost like an unquestioned truth.
Exactly.
But then what happens when that assumption is wrong?
Ooh, that's when people get into trouble.
Big trouble.
Especially like during a housing crisis. People can lose a lot of money thinking real estate is a sure thing.
Because they never stop to ask, well, what if it's not?
Precisely. Both Buffett and Munger, they stress the importance of stepping back from all that noise, all that chatter, and forming your own informed opinions. You've got to understand the why behind the what.
Don't just blindly follow the herd.
Right.
Speaking of separating the why from the what, the Buffett biography makes a distinction between frugality and temperance.
Interesting.
They seem similar on the surface, right? But the book argues there's a key difference. How do you see it?
Yeah, you're right. They both involve restraint, but think of frugality as that stricter, older sibling.
Okay, I like that analogy.
It's about denying yourself, almost like a Scrooge hoarding wealth without any real purpose.
Right, just for the sake of having it.
Exactly. Temperance, on the other hand, it's about finding balance.
More like a mindful approach to your resources.
Yes. Satisfying your needs without going overboard. It's about being intentional with your spending, your resources.
So it's not just about saving every single penny, it's about aligning your spending with your goals. If you're scrimping and saving but not enjoying life or using your wealth for good, what's the point?
You hit the nail on the head. Frugality without a virtuous goal is just, well, penny pinching. It misses the bigger picture of living a fulfilling life.
Right, it loses the forest for the trees.
Exactly.
Hmm?
Now let's bring Charlie Munger into the picture.
Yeah, let's talk about Charlie.
He's fascinating. He downplays his role in Buffett's success, but acknowledges that Buffett had to evolve beyond some of his mentor Ben Graham's more rigid value investing principles.
So even Buffett, with his incredible track record, had to adapt and grow.
Exactly, and that's what's so important about their approach. It shows the importance of continuous learning, even for those giants like Buffett.
Always be a student.
Right. The book highlights that even in their 70s, they were actively seeking to improve and adapt. It wasn't just about applying a fixed set of rules. It was about constantly refining their understanding of the world.
That's so inspiring, and I loved that image of Berkshire Hathaway drowning in money later in their careers. Talk about a visual representation of success.
Oh yeah, it certainly paints a picture. But, their success wasn't just about luck. It was about developing a framework for thinking, for making decisions that really set them apart.
And that framework, that's what Munger calls multiple mental models, right?
That's it.
The idea is to draw from different fields like history, psychology, even science, to build a more complete picture of a situation.
We're kind of doing that right now with this deep dive, aren't we?
We are. We're looking at biographical details, financial concepts, philosophical ideas. It all connects.
Exactly. It helps us understand Buffett and Munger's approach more fully.
It's like having a more well-rounded view.
Exactly. Imagine you're analyzing a company, right? You could look at their financials, sure.
Right.
But what about the psychology of their leadership team? Are they risk takers? Or what about the overall economic climate? Is there a recession brewing? Munger says considering these diverse perspectives, it helps you avoid those blind spots.
Instead of just relying on the financial lens, you're also looking at the psychological, historical, even the political landscape.
Exactly. And if you don't have the right mental model for a situation, well, Munger believes in figuring things out yourself. He calls it the little red hen attitude.
The littered way.
Yeah, like the story. If no one else is going to teach you, then roll up your sleeves and learn it yourself.
Love that. That self-reliance really comes through in Munger's emphasis on preparation, patience, discipline, and objectivity. In the world of investing, which can be so chaotic, it's tempting to get swept up in the frenzy.
Oh yeah, it's easy to get caught up in the hype.
Right. But that's where his sit on your ass investing approach comes in.
That's a good one.
It's not about chasing every hot stock tip. It's about doing your research, finding those great businesses, and then holding on for the long haul.
Patience is key.
It really challenges that image of investors frantically buying and selling, trying to time the market perfectly.
It's a different approach.
Yeah.
They're playing the long game. And that patience, it's proven incredibly rewarding. But it's not just about waiting for the right opportunity. It's also about actively avoiding those pitfalls.
Which brings to mind Munger's quote, "All I want to know is where I'm going to die, so I'll never go there." Sounds a bit morbid, but in the context of investing, it's brilliant. It's about understanding how to avoid those mistakes.
He's not afraid to be blunt.
No, he's not.
But he's got a point. He's talking about recognizing those psychological traps that we all fall into. Fear, greed, overconfidence, you name it. These biases can lead us to make bad decisions.
We're all human.
Exactly. So
Yep.
self-awareness is key. You need to understand how your own mind works and how that might lead you astray.
It's not just about being smart. It's about being smart about how you're being smart.
Exactly. It's a crucial part of worldly wisdom. And it's not just about your own biases. It's about spotting them in others, particularly those managing your money.
Ooh, that's a good point. So it's about protecting yourself, too. This whole idea of spotting potential problems before they blow up in your face. It connects back to Munger's idea of mental models, right? What are those tools we can borrow to avoid falling for those smooth operators?
Well, Mugger, he's got a keen sense for identifying those who don't quite measure up ethically. He even says some are, well, almost psychopaths.
Whoa, that's a little unnerving.
It is.
Yeah.
But of course, not all unethical actors are that obvious. Some are masters of deception.
So how can investors try to protect themselves? What are some red flags to watch out for?
Munger emphasizes scrutinizing a company's culture and its leaders' track records. Look beyond those flashy presentations and dig into how they've actually behaved in the past.
Actions speak louder than words.
Exactly.
That reminds me of the Salomon Brothers scandal, where they were chasing business from Robert Maxwell. You know, that notoriously shady character nicknamed the Bouncing Check.
Oh, yeah. Not a great guy to do business with. Even experienced investors can get caught up in those situations.
Absolutely. It's a cautionary tale, showing that due diligence is crucial. You need to constantly evaluate who you're doing business with and be willing to walk away if something feels off.
Trust your gut.
And this applies to individual companies as well as the broader market.
Speaking of things that can feel off, Munger has some very strong opinions about aggressive accounting practices.
Oh, he does not hold back on that topic.
He sees it as a major breach of trust, right?
Absolutely. Undermining the integrity of the entire financial system. When companies start playing games with the numbers, it erodes confidence and creates this slippery slope towards potential fraud.
He uses Enron as a prime example, right?
The poster child for what happens when companies prioritize short-term profits over long-term sustainability and ethical behavior.
Greed and deception ultimately leading to disaster.
It's a stark reminder that the numbers don't always tell the whole story. Understanding a company's accounting practices is essential for any investor.
Absolutely.
Munger advocates for a healthy dose of skepticism when it comes to financial reporting. Dig deep into those footnotes, understand the assumptions being made, and be wary of companies pushing the limits of accounting rules.
So it's about being an informed and discerning investor, not just taking things at face value.
Right. You got to understand what's behind those numbers, not just accept them blindly.
And this critical thinking, it applies not just to individual companies, but to the market as a whole, right? Yeah.
Absolutely. And Munger, he's particularly wary of complex financial instruments, like derivatives. He calls them a Mad Hatter Tea Party, which pretty much sums up his view.
So while some might see derivatives as tools for sophisticated investors, Munger sees them as potentially dangerous even for those who think they understand the risks involved.
He's not afraid to challenge conventional wisdom, even when it comes to widely accepted financial practices. He consistently advocates for a more prudent, value-driven approach to investing.
That independent thinking is something I really admire about both Munger and Buffett. They're not swayed by trends or fads. They have a clear set of principles and stick to them, even when the market seems to be heading in a different direction.
And that discipline and long-term focus, it's certainly paid off. Their success shows the power of staying true to your values and not letting short-term pressures derail your long-term goals. But it's not just about ignoring the noise and having that long-term vision. It's also about knowing when to zig when everyone else is zagging.
And that's what makes their focus investing approach so interesting. They go against the grain, concentrating on a few companies they truly understand, instead of diversifying widely.
It's like Casca. Remember that harness racing bettor we talked about before?
Oh, yeah, the one who knew those races inside and out.
Exactly. He could spot those mispriced bets. And when he did, he bet big. Munger and Buffett are similar. They do their homework, find those exceptional businesses, and then make those concentrated investments.
Sounds almost counterintuitive, right? We're always told to diversify, diversify, diversify.
Right, but they argue that spreading yourself too thin can actually hurt your returns. If you're investing in hundreds of companies, how deeply can you really know each one?
Good point. It's hard to be an expert on everything.
Exactly. That lack of knowledge can drag down your overall performance.
So it's about quality over quantity. Not just picking winners, but understanding them so well that you're comfortable making those concentrated bets.
Exactly. But that takes real work.
It does. But wouldn't that be super risky? What if one of those businesses goes south?
There's always risk. But they mitigate it by focusing on companies with durable competitive advantages, proven track records, and, importantly, ethical management teams. They're not chasing the next hot stock. They're looking for solid businesses built to last.
It's that long game again, right?
Exactly. Not a quick profit scheme, but a commitment to letting those investments compound over time.
They're willing to hold for years, even decades.
Right. They're not fazed by short-term market swings or sensational headlines. They're focused on the fundamentals of the businesses they own. It's a valuable lesson for any investor. Don't get caught up in the hype. Focus on that underlying value.
And as setting that value, it goes beyond just looking at financial statements, right? Didn't they consider all sorts of factors?
Absolutely. They factor in things like industry dynamics, the competitive landscape, even those psychological biases we discussed earlier. They're constantly applying those worldly wisdom mental models, piecing together the puzzle from different angles.
Speaking of piecing things together, let's talk about ethics. That seems to be a major theme for both Munger and Buffett. They're not just focused on profits, they want to make money the right way.
You're absolutely right. They see ethical behavior as fundamental to long-term success. It's not just about feeling good, it's about building trust and creating a more sustainable path. And Munger in particular seems to have a knack for spotting those who don't share this view.
He even calls some of them psychopaths, right? But as we talked about earlier, not every bad actor is that obvious. Some are masters of deception.
Exactly. That's why Munger emphasizes looking beyond the surface. Dig into a company's culture. Scrutinize their leaders' actions. Don't just take their word for it. Look for evidence that backs up their claims.
It's about being skeptical, asking tough questions, even when dealing with seemingly reputable people. Remember the Salomon Brothers example? Getting mixed up with someone like Robert Maxwell, the bouncing check, shows how even seasoned professionals can fall prey to those with bad intentions.
It reinforces the importance of ongoing due diligence. It's not a one-time check. It's a constant process of evaluating the people and businesses you're involved with. And if something feels off, don't be afraid to walk away.
And speaking of things that can feel off, let's revisit Munger's strong stance against aggressive accounting practices. He doesn't mince words on that topic.
Oh, no, he doesn't. He sees it as a cancer eating away at the financial system.
Strong words.
When companies play games with the numbers, it erodes trust and can easily lead to fraud. Look at Enron. They were masters of hiding their true financial position through accounting trickery.
Enron's collapse was a harsh lesson in the dangers of aggressive accounting. It highlights the importance of being an informed investor, understanding a company's accounting practices, and not just blindly accepting the numbers presented.
Right. And that same skepticism should be applied to the broader market. Munger is very wary of complex financial instruments, especially derivatives. He sees them as inherently risky and prone to manipulation. Remember his Mad Hatter Tea Party analogy? That sums up his view perfectly.
So it's not just about individual companies, it's about being aware of the potential risks in the system as a whole. Don't get sucked into the hype, do your research, and be wary of complexity you don't fully understand.
That's a great way to put it. And it brings us back to one of the core tenets of both Munger and Buffett's approach: continuous learning. They're constantly seeking knowledge, challenging assumptions, and refining their understanding of the world.
It's inspiring to see that even after achieving such incredible success, they still prioritize learning and self-improvement.
And that's a powerful message for all of us. No matter where you are in your journey, whether you're just starting out or you're a seasoned investor, there's always more to learn. Embrace that curiosity and never stop seeking knowledge.
Their dedication to learning and their commitment to ethical behavior are so intertwined. It's not just about getting ahead. It's about using your knowledge and skills to do good in the world.
And that brings us to a fascinating aspect of Munger's philosophy, this idea that worldly wisdom isn't just about accumulating knowledge, it's about applying it in a way that benefits both yourself and society.
It's about recognizing that our actions have ripple effects and that we have a responsibility to use our knowledge wisely.
Exactly. He often talks about the importance of rational decision-making, not just for your own benefit, but for the betterment of society as a whole. It's a perspective that goes beyond mere financial gain and touches on the deeper meaning of success.
It's almost like they're saying, sure, be successful, but don't forget to be a good human being along the way. It's refreshing,
Yeah.
especially compared to that whole greed is good mentality we often see.
It really is. And it brings us to another key part of their philosophy, the importance of giving back.
Oh, yeah, both Munger and Buffett are known for that. Huge philanthropists.
They are dedicating a big chunk of their wealth to actually improving the world.
It kind of completes the circle, doesn't it? They use their knowledge and skills to build this immense wealth, and now they're using that wealth to try and tackle some of the world's most pressing problems.
It really does. It underscores this idea that true success isn't just about personal gain.
It's about making a positive impact.
Exactly. Leaving the world a better place than you found it.
And that commitment to making a difference, it seems to fuel their passion for continuous learning, right? They're not just reading and studying to improve their investment strategies.
No, they're genuinely interested in understanding the world and how they can contribute to making it better.
That's a key takeaway for me from these sources. It's not just about accumulating knowledge for the sake of it.
Right, it's about applying it.
Making informed decisions, solving problems,
Right.
creating positive change.
All of that. It's almost like they're saying, don't just be a student of the markets.
Be a student of life.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Pay attention to the world around you. Learn from different fields. Apply those lessons to make a meaningful impact.
And that ties back to Munger's emphasis on mental models, doesn't it? He's constantly encouraging us to expand our toolkit.
He is. Borrow ideas from different disciplines. See the world through multiple lenses.
The more mental models you have, the better equipped you'll be to navigate all the complexities of life. Business, investing, everything.
It's like having this Swiss Army knife of knowledge, ready to tackle any situation that comes your way.
I like that.
And like any good tool, those mental models need to be sharpened, refined through experience.
It's not just about reading books or attending lectures, right?
No, it's about applying those concepts in the real world and learning from both your successes and your failures.
That's where the rubber meets the road. It's one thing to understand a concept in theory, but it's a whole other thing to apply it effectively when the stakes are high.
Absolutely. That's why Munger and Buffett, they emphasize the importance of both study and experience. They're voracious readers, but they're also seasoned practitioners, honed their skills through decades of making tough decisions and navigating all sorts of challenging situations.
So it's not just about being book smart, it's about having the wisdom to apply that knowledge in a practical and ethical way.
Exactly. And that's a journey we can all embark on. We can all strive to be lifelong learners, to expand our understanding of the world and use that knowledge to make a positive difference.
That's a powerful message to take away from this deep dive. We've learned about the importance of independent thinking, the value of ethical behavior, the power of continuous learning.
We've explored the principles of focus investing, the pitfalls of aggressive accounting, and the dangers of unchecked greed.
And we've gained insights into the minds of two truly extraordinary individuals. Not only have they achieved incredible success, but they've dedicated their lives to sharing their wisdom, encouraging others to follow a similar path.
It's inspiring.
Their stories are a reminder that success isn't just about reaching a certain financial milestone. It's about living a life of purpose, integrity, and continuous growth.
Something we can all aspire to, regardless of our field or our current level of success.
Well, there you have it, folks. Our deep dive into the wisdom of Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger has come to an end. I hope you found it as insightful and inspiring as I have.
It's been a pleasure exploring these ideas with you, and I encourage you to continue this journey of learning and self-discovery. There's a whole world of knowledge out there just waiting to be explored.
So keep that curiosity burning. Keep those mental models sharp. And never stop striving to be a little bit wiser today than you were yesterday. Thanks for joining us. Until next time, keep on learning.